The trading post floated in the neutral zone between 17 different territorial claims, which made it either the safest place in the galaxy or the most dangerous, depending on who you asked. I personally leaned toward dangerous, but then again, I was a Vorak debt collector, and danger was pretty much my entire job description. My name is Krell 9, and I have been chasing down unpaid accounts for the Galactic Commerce Guild for about 40 cycles now. The job was simple, boring, and occasionally violent. Track down whoever owed money, make them pay, file the paperwork. Repeat. Nothing exciting ever happened until the day I met her. Station Alpha 7 was crowded that morning, which was unusual. Most traders avoided this particular outpost because the environmental controls were garbage and the food synthesizers produced something that tasted like fermented engine coolant. But there she was, standing in front of Merchant Haver's stall, arguing about starship parts. She was human, tiny, soft-skinned, no natural armor, no claws, no venom sacs. Basically, she looked like she would lose a fight with a strong breeze. Her species had only joined the galactic community about 30 cycles ago, and most civilized beings still thought of them as adorable curiosities. Harmless, weak. I should have known better. Haver was a Cresnian arms dealer, which meant he had 4 arms, terrible breath, and absolutely no conscience. He was trying to sell her a Junker patrol ship for about 3 times its actual value, and she was smiling at him like he had just told the funniest joke in the universe. Let me get this straight, she said, her voice cheerful and light. You want 400,000 credits for this floating coffin? Haver's facial tendrils twitched, which meant he was offended. Good, I hated that guy. This is premium military surplus, he growled, all 4 hands gesturing dramatically. Battle-tested reinforced hull, dual plasma cannons. The human laughed. Actually laughed. It was a bright, musical sound that made several nearby traders turn and stare. Battle-tested, she repeated, still grinning. Is that what we're calling it when something gets shot so many times it barely holds together? I moved closer, pretending to examine a display of navigation crystals. This was getting interesting. Haver leaned forward, trying to intimidate her with his size. He was at least twice her height and probably 4 times her mass. You question Haver's integrity. You insult my merchandise. The human did not even flinch. Instead, she pulled out a small data pad and started scrolling through something. Your merchandise has 17 hull breaches that were patched with substandard welding. The engine coolant system is leaking radiation at levels that would kill most organic life forms within 6 hours, and the weapons targeting computer was discontinued 40 years ago because it had a habit of locking onto friendly vessels. Dead silence. Haver's facial tendrils went completely still, which meant he was either furious or terrified. Maybe both. How could you possibly know that? He whispered. She tapped her data pad. I scanned it while you were busy telling me about its glorious history. Nice try, though. I'll give you 12,000 credits, and that's only because I need the parts. 12,000. 12. That is robbery. Theft. You are stealing from Havor. The human shrugged, completely unbothered. Then sell it to someone else, I'm sure. There's a line of buyers waiting for a ship that's technically classified as a biohazard. She started to walk away. Haver lasted about 3 seconds before he cracked. Wait. Wait, perhaps we can negotiate. 15,000, she said without turning around. And that's my final offer, take it or leave it. But that is less than before. Your choice, she called over her shoulder. Tick-tock, big guy, Havor made a sound like a dying water buffalo and slumped against his stall. Fine. 15,000. You are a demon, a tiny soft demon. The human came back smiling, even wider now. Pleasure doing business with you, she transferred the credits, received the access codes and walked away humming something cheerful. I watched her go. Genuinely impressed. I had seen seasoned negotiators with decades of experience fail to get Havor down from his asking price, and this human had done it in under 5 minutes while making him feel good about the deal. Interesting. I filed away the encounter and went back to my own business. I had 3 accounts to collect on this station, and none of them were going to be as entertaining as watching that human work. 4 hours later, I was nursing a drink at the station bar, trying to forget the taste of the synthetic alcohol when alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed. Station's emergency broadcast system crackled to life, and the voice of station commander these filled every corridor. Attention all personnel, we have a priority 1 situation, unknown vessel approaching at high velocity. All combat-capable ships are ordered to launch immediately for defensive positions. This is not a drill. The bar emptied in seconds. Everyone scrambled for their ships, their weapons, their escape pods. Everyone except me and the human who was sitting 3 stools down, calmly sipping something bright blue. You are not worried? I asked. Genuinely curious, she glanced at me, and up close I could see her eyes were an unusual amber color. Pretty if you ignored the fact that she was basically made of squishy meat. Should I be? She asked before I could answer. The station shuddered, not from weapons fire, from something docking hard. The human finished her drink, stood up and stretched. Well, that's my cue. Nice chatting with you, Mr. Vorak. How did you know my species? She winked. I do my homework. Then she was gone, moving through the panicked crowd with surprising grace. I should have left it alone. I should have gone to my ship and prepared for whatever was about to happen. But curiosity is a terrible thing, and I found myself following her. Instead, she headed straight for the main docking bay where the mystery ship had attached itself to the station. Security forces were already there, weapons drawn, looking nervous. The airlock hissed open, and what stepped through made everyone take a step back. It was a Drachner war captain, 8FT, tall, covered in battle armor, carrying enough weapons to level a small city. The Drachner were one of the most feared warrior races in the galaxy, and their war captains were legendary for their brutality. This one looked particularly unpleasant. His armor was scarred from countless battles, and his face was all sharp angles and cold eyes. I am War Captain Thorn, he announced, his voice like grinding metal. I am here to claim the human who purchased vessel registration Code 7 Alpha 94. The security chief, a Palaxian named GR, visibly paled. On what grounds? That vessel was stolen from Drachner military depot 6 cycles ago. The human purchased stolen property. She will come with me, or I will take her by force. Oh no, the human stepped forward alone, unarmed, still smiling. Hi there, she said brightly. I'm Mira Vale. I think there's been a misunderstanding. War Captain Thorn looked down at her like she was an insect. There is no misunderstanding. You purchased stolen Drachnor property. This is an act of war. Act of war, Mira laughed again. That same musical sound, that seems a bit dramatic, don't you think? Thorn's hand moved to his weapon. You mock me. No. No, Mira said quickly, raising her hands. I'm just saying, maybe we should talk about this before anyone does anything permanent. I mean, I paid for that ship in good faith. I didn't know it was stolen. That's on Haver, not me. Somewhere in the crowd, I heard Haver make a strangled sound. Thorn did not look convinced. Ignorance is not innocence. You will return the vessel and pay reparations, or you will face Drachnor justice. And what exactly does Drachnor justice look like? Mira asked, still sounding cheerful. You do not want to know, Thorn said darkly. Mira pretended to think about it, tapping her chin. Okay, here's the thing though, I really need that ship. I've got a delivery contract, and if I don't fulfill it, I lose my deposit. That's 15,000 credits down the drain. So how about we make a deal instead? The entire docking bay went silent. Nobody made deals with Drachnor war captains. You either obeyed or you died. Thorn stared at her. You offered to negotiate with me. Why not? Mira spread her hands. Look, I get it, you're mad. Someone stole your ship. That's bad, but I'm just a middleman here. I'm the innocent party. So instead of starting an interstellar incident over what is essentially a used patrol ship, why don't I just buy it from you properly? Name your price. Thorn's expression was unreadable. You would purchase it from me? Sure, why not? I need a ship. You want compensation for your stolen property. Everybody wins. The price, Thorn said slowly, is 4 million credits. The crowd gasped. That was insane. That was nearly 300 times what Mira had paid Haver. Mira did not even blink. 4 million for that wreck. It is a Juarez patrol vessel, Thorn said coldly. Top of the line, advanced weapon systems, military-grade shields. It's also falling apart, Mira countered. Half the systems don't work. The hull is compromised, and I'm pretty sure something is living in the ventilation ducts. I'll give you 25,000. I almost choked. She was trying to haggle with a Drachnor war captain. This was it. This was how humans went extinct. But Thorn did not attack. Instead, he tilted his head slightly. You insult the Drachnor military. I'm being realistic, Mira said firmly. Look, I've been inside that ship. I know exactly what condition it's in. 25,000 is generous, and you know it. 3 million, Thorn said. 30,000. 2 million, 40,000, and I'll throw in a full maintenance diagnostic scan so you can prove to your superiors exactly how much damage it sustained while it was stolen. Thorn was quiet for a long moment, then incredibly he laughed. It was a harsh grinding sound, but it was definitely laughter. You are bold for such a small creature, he said. Very well. 75,000 credits, final offer. 50,000, Mira said immediately. And you personally guarantee that no Drachnor forces will come after me, claiming I stole their property? Another long silence. 60,000, Thorn said, and you have my word as a war captain. Mira extended her hand. Deal. Thorn looked at her hand like it might explode. What is this? It's called a handshake, Mira explained patiently. It's how humans seal agreements. Slowly, carefully, Thorn reached out and gripped her hand. With 2 clawed fingers, they shook Once you are a strange species, Thorn said. You have no idea, Mira replied. Grinning, the transaction was completed. Right there in the docking bay, Mira transferred 60,000 credits. Thorn provided official documentation proving the sale was legitimate, and everyone slowly began to breathe again as Thorn's ship detached and departed. The station erupted in confused chatter. What had just happened? Had a human really negotiated with a Drachner war captain and survived? I found myself standing next to Mira as the crowd dispersed. That was either very brave or very stupid, I told her. She shrugged. Little bit of both, probably. But hey, I got my ship, and for way less than 4 million credits. You do realize you just made a deal with one of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy? Yeah, and Mira looked genuinely confused. He wanted money. I wanted a ship. We both got what we wanted. That's how business works. I studied her carefully. Most beings would have been terrified. Oh, I was terrified, Mira admitted cheerfully, but being scared doesn't mean you can't negotiate. Besides, I had a hunch he was bluffing about the whole war thing. Too much paperwork, you know. Much easier to just get paid and move. On a hunch, I repeated. Yep, this human was either incredibly intelligent or incredibly lucky, maybe both. Well, I said, congratulations on your new ship. Try not to start any more interstellar incidents. Mira laughed. No promises. But hey, if you ever need a ride somewhere, look me up. I owe you for not freaking out back there. I did not do anything exactly. You stayed calm. That helped. She patted my arm, which was weird because Vorak do not generally enjoy physical contact. See you around. Krill 9. She walked away, heading toward her newly purchased, definitely not worth 60,000 credits patrol ship. I should have let her go, should have forgotten about the whole incident and gone back to my boring, predictable life of debt collection. But something told me that Mira Vale was going to be interesting. And I was absolutely right. 3 days after the incident with War Captain Thorn, I received an emergency transmission on my personal comm unit. The message was brief, encoded with military-grade encryption, and absolutely terrifying. It came from the Drayor High Command. They wanted to meet with me. Now, when the Drayor High Command wants to meet with you, there are generally two possibilities. Either you are about to receive a very prestigious honor, or you are about to die horribly. Given that I was a debt collector who had never even served in any military, I was betting heavily on option 2. The meeting location was a neutral diplomatic vessel orbiting a dead moon. In the Castor system, I arrived exactly on time because being late to your own execution seemed rude. The Drachner commander waiting for me was not Thorn. This one was bigger, older, and had so many battle scars that his armor looked like it had been used as target practice. His name was Supreme Commander Varoth, and according to galactic records, he had personally conquered 14 star systems. Krell 9 of Vorak, he said, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. You were present during War Captain Thorn's encounter with the human Mira Vale. It was not a question. Yes, Supreme Commander, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I witnessed the transaction. Tell me everything. So I did. I described the entire encounter in painful detail, from Mira's initial purchase of the stolen ship from Haver to her negotiation with Thorn. Varoth listened without interruption. His expression unreadable. When I finished, there was a long, uncomfortable silence. The human reduced the price from 4 million to 60,000 credits, Barakov said finally. Yes, Supreme Commander. In less than 10 minutes. Approximately, yes. Another silence. This is a problem. Varoth said. I blinked. A problem. Supreme Commander, War Captain Thorn is one of our finest negotiators. He has brokered peace treaties, arranged prisoner exchanges, and secured trade agreements across half the galaxy. He has trained in 17 different forms of psychological warfare and advanced interrogation techniques. I see, I said, not seeing at all, and this human, this tiny, soft, completely unimpressive creature, negotiated circles around him like he was a freshly hatched recruit. Oh no. I suddenly understood where this was going. Supreme Commander, I am sure it was just luck. Or perhaps Thorn was having an off day. Baroth held up one massive hand, silencing me. Do not insult my intelligence, Krell 9. We have been monitoring this human since the incident. Do you know what we discovered? I shook my head, afraid to speak. Mira Vale has successfully negotiated 17 major deals in the past 6 months. She purchased a cargo hauler for 1/10 its market value, talked her way out of 3 separate piracy attempts without firing a single shot, and convinced a Palaxian crime syndicate to pay her for cargo they had stolen from her. My brain was having trouble processing that last part. They paid her for cargo they stole. She convinced them the cargo was cursed and would bring disaster to anyone who possessed it illegally. They returned it and gave her an additional 50,000 credits to, quote, make the curse go away. Was it actually cursed? I asked weakly. It was industrial lubricant. Right, of course it was, Baroth began, pacing which made the entire room shake slightly. This human represents a significant strategic threat. If other species learned that humans possess such advanced negotiation capabilities, it could shift the entire balance of galactic power. With respect, Supreme Commander, I do not think one human represents an existential threat to the Dryor Empire. Barkov stopped pacing and looked directly at me. She turned one of our war captains into a merchant in 10 minutes. Imagine what she could do with a proper platform. Imagine what an entire species of such beings could accomplish. He had a point. A terrifying point. What do you want me to do, Supreme Commander? We need to understand this ability, study it, learn how to counter it. Varoth pulled up a holographic display. We are offering you a contract. Track Mira Vale, observe her, document her methods, report back to us with detailed analysis. You want me to spy on her? I asked, surprised. We want you to learn from her, Varoth corrected. Consider this an educational opportunity. You will be compensated generously, of course. He named a figure that made my debt collection salary look like pocket change. I should have said no, should have walked away from the whole mess. But the truth was, I was curious too. Mira Vale had done something I had never seen before, and I wanted to understand how. I said. Varoth nodded approvingly. Excellent. Your first task is to gain her trust, become her associate, her friend if possible. Humans value such relationships. And if she discovers what I am doing, then you will likely die, Barkov said. Matter-of-factly, humans are Unpredictable when betrayed, but I have faith in your abilities, Krello 9. Do not disappoint the Dreyur High Command. Great, no pressure. Finding Mira was not difficult. She had registered her new ship under her own name and filed a completely legitimate flight plan. She was currently docked at the Traverse Station, a major commercial hub in the inner systems. I arrived at Traverse Station expecting to find her selling cargo or negotiating another impossible deal. Instead, I found her in the station's recreation area, teaching a group of Palaxian children how to play something called basketball. The children were absolutely terrible at it, but Mira was patient and encouraging, showing them how to bounce the ball and aim for the hoop. She was laughing, genuinely enjoying herself, and the children obviously adored her. This was the terrifying negotiator who had outsmarted a Drachner war captain. Krello, Mira spotted me and waved enthusiastically. Hey, what are you doing here? The Palaxian children all turned to stare at me with their large, curious eyes. I had business in the area, I said, which was technically true. I did not expect to find you working with children. Working, this is fun. Mira tossed the ball to one of the kids who caught it and immediately tried to eat it. Okay, buddy, we talked about this, not food. Throw it at the hoop. The child looked disappointed but complied. You are good with them, I observed. Mira shrugged. Kids are easy. They are honest about what they want, and they do not have hidden agendas. Unlike adults, she gave me a look that made me wonder if she somehow knew what was really there. Impossible, of course. I had been careful. After the children were collected by their parents, Mira invited me to join her for a meal. We ended up at a small restaurant that served food from 24 different worlds, and Mira ordered something that looked vaguely toxic. So, she said, stabbing at her meal with a utensil, what do you really want, Krello? I tried to look innocent. I do not understand. Come on, you show up here at this specific station right when I happen to be docked. That is not coincidence. Someone sent you. She was too perceptive. By half, I am interested in learning from you, I said, which was partially true. Your negotiation skills are remarkable. I thought perhaps we could work together occasionally. Mira studied me for a long moment, then smiled. You are a terrible liar, you know that. My pulse quickened. I am not lying. Yes, you are. Your facial plates change color slightly when you are not telling the truth, right there along your jawline. She pointed with her utensil. It is very subtle but noticeable once you know what to look for. I had no idea my species did that. However, Mira continued, I do not actually care why you are here. If you want to tag along and learn, fine, I could use the company. Just do not betray me, okay? I really hate betrayal. The way she said it so casually made it somehow more threatening than any direct warning. I would not dream of it, I said. She laughed. There go your jaw plates again. Over the next 4 weeks, I followed Mira from station to station, watching her work. What I learned was both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Mira did not just negotiate. She read people. She understood motivations, fears, desires, all within minutes of meeting someone. She knew exactly what to say, when to push, when to retreat, when to make a joke that would diffuse tension. At the Helios trading post, she talked a Cresnian warlord into selling her military-grade sensors for the price of civilian equipment by convincing him that advanced sensors were actually liability in modern warfare. Too much information, she argued, led to analysis paralysis. The warlord bought it completely. At the Meridian Station, she resolved a labor dispute between miners and management by getting both sides to focus on their shared hatred of the station's terrible food. Within an hour, they had forgotten they were arguing and had formed a committee to demand better meals. The strike ended peacefully. At the Outer Rim Depot, she prevented a shootout between rival smuggling gangs by challenging both leaders to a cooking competition. Instead, the winner would get the disputed territory. Both gangs were so focused on not losing face that they agreed. Mira won the competition with something she called chili, and somehow both gangs ended up splitting the territory peacefully and asking for her recipe. It was absurd. It should not have worked, but it did every time. How do you do it? I asked one night as we sat in her ship's tiny common area. Do what? Mira was cleaning her weapons, which consisted of exactly two small pistols that looked like they would bounce off most armor. All of it. The negotiation, the reading people, the impossible solutions. She looked up, surprised. It is not that complicated, Krellel. I just pay attention. There must be more to it than that. Mira thought about it for a moment. Okay. Here is the thing. Most species in the galaxy are stronger than humans, right? Faster, tougher, better armed. We cannot win physical fights against Drachner or Vorthach or even Palaxians. This is true, I agreed. So we got really, really good at not fighting. We learned to talk our way out of problems, to find common ground, to make people want to cooperate with us instead of crushing us. But surely other species negotiate as well. They do, Mira said. But most of them negotiate from a position of strength. They have weapons, armor, military backing, so their negotiations are really just polite threats. Do what I want or I will hurt you. And humans, we negotiate from weakness. We have to actually convince people. We have to understand what they really want and give it to them in a way that makes them feel good about the deal. She grinned. It is like judo. You use the opponent's strength against them. I filed that away in my report to Varoth. The Drachner High Command was going to find this very interesting and very concerning. 3 weeks later, everything went wrong. We were at the Frontier Station, a rough trading post on the edge of civilized space, when we received a distress signal. A civilian transport was under attack by raiders, and the local defense forces were too far away to respond. We have to help, Mira said immediately. That is not our responsibility, I argued. We are not equipped for combat. I do not care. Those are innocent people. She fired up her ship's engines. Before I could protest further, Raider ship was a converted military frigate, heavily armed and absolutely deadly. Our patrol ship was barely functioning and had weapon systems that were mostly decorative. This was suicide. Hail them, Mira ordered. What? Why would we just do it, Krellel? I opened a channel. The Raider captain appeared on screen. He was a Morvax, all scales and teeth and bad attitude. This is Captain Reyes of the Crimson Fang, he snarled. You are interfering with legitimate salvage operations. Leave now or be destroyed. Hi there, Mira said brightly. I am Mira Vale, freelance trader. That transport you are attacking contains medical Supplies bound for a refugee colony. If you destroy it, about 4,000 people are going to die of easily preventable diseases. Ray laughed. Not my problem, it could be your opportunity, Mira countered. Think about it, you could hold those supplies for ransom. The refugees cannot pay, but the medical company that shipped the supplies, they have insurance. They would pay a fortune to get their cargo back and avoid the publicity nightmare. Ray stopped laughing. Keep talking. Right now you're just pirates destroying cargo. Boring, but if you hold it for ransom, you become business negotiators. Plus, the transport ship itself is worth more intact than destroyed. You could sell it, ransom the crew, and get paid for the medical supplies. Triple profit. I watched in horror and amazement as Mira talked the raider captain through a complete change of strategy. She gave him numbers, projected profits, even suggested which insurance companies would pay the fastest. 20 minutes later, Ray agreed to leave the transport intact, take only the supplies that could be replaced, and accept a direct payment from the medical company instead of destroying everything. The civilian transport escaped safely. You just helped pirates, I said, stunned. I just saved 4,000 refugees and a transport full of civilians, Mira corrected. Sometimes the best solution is not perfect, it is just better than the alternative. That was the moment I realized I had to warn her. Mira, there is something you need to know. You are working for the Dracor High Command, she said calmly. I know. My blood went cold. How long have you known? Since about day 3. She smiled at my expression. Krell, you are a debt collector. Debt collectors do not take extended vacations to follow random traders around the galaxy. Plus, your expense account is way too generous. Someone is definitely paying you, and you are not angry. Why would I be angry? You have not actually done anything to hurt me, and honestly, I kind of enjoy having someone to talk to. Space travel gets lonely. I sat down heavily. Dracor High Command thinks you are a threat. I know that too, Mira said. They are probably right. If humans ever got organized, we could be really problematic for the established power structures. Does that not concern you? She shrugged. Not really. Humans are terrible at organizing. We argue too much. By the time we agree on anything, the crisis is usually over. What should I tell Varoth? Mira thought about it. Tell him the truth. Humans are good at negotiating because we are weak. And we know it. We have to be clever to survive, but we are not conquerors. We are traders, explorers, problem solvers. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be part of it. He may not believe that. Then invite him to come talk to me directly. Mira said. I am happy to negotiate. I sent the report to Varoth that night. 3 days later, I received a response. Supreme Commander Varoth wanted to meet with Myra personally. The meeting took place on the same neutral diplomatic vessel where Varoth had first recruited me. Mira showed up wearing casual clothes, looking completely relaxed. Varoth towered over her, all battles, scarred armor, and intimidating presence. You wish to speak with me, human? Actually, you wanted to speak with me. Mira corrected gently, but yes, let us talk. What is on your mind, Supreme Commander? For the next 2 hours, I watched Mira Vale negotiate the future of human Dracor relations with one of the most powerful military commanders in the Galaxy, she was brilliant, she acknowledged Drayor concerns, validated their fears, and then systematically demonstrated why those fears were unfounded. She offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and joint training programs. She even suggested that human negotiators could work with Drayor military forces to resolve conflicts without violence. Think of the resources you would save. She argued every war costs lives, equipment, and time. If we could talk our way through even half of your conflicts, the savings would be enormous. Varath was silent for a long time after she finished. You are suggesting an alliance, he said finally. I am suggesting a partnership, Mira corrected. You provide the strength, we provide the strategy. Together we would be unstoppable. Another long silence. Then Varath did something I had never seen a Drachner commander do. He smiled. You are dangerous creature, Myra, he said, but perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs. They shook hands, human style, and I knew I was witnessing the beginning of something extraordinary. 6 months later, human negotiators were working alongside Drachner forces across 3 sectors. Conflicts that would have required military intervention were being resolved peacefully. Trade was booming. Relations between previously hostile species were improving, and it all started because a human offered pocket change for a stolen war cruiser and somehow convinced everyone involved that it was a good deal. I eventually left debt collection and became Mira's full-time partner. Turns out helping people solve problems pays way better than chasing down unpaid accounts. Mira still laughs about the whole thing. She says she was just trying to buy a cheap ship and accidentally started a diplomatic revolution. But I know better. Mira knew exactly what she was doing from the beginning. She saw an opportunity to change how species interact, and she took it. That is what makes humans so dangerous. They do not conquer with weapons or force. They conquer with words, ideas, and impossible deals that somehow work.